TX22 Competition. Actually, it's not Competition, it's just competition. So this is Taurus's new offering of their 22, of their original TX22, which is essentially them taking the original 22 and making it so that you can mount a red dot on here, as you can see. And they kind of went a different route than they normally do when it comes to mounting a red dot on your firearms. They decided to just cut off 50% of the slide and then give you a base plate and then say, here, put your red dot right there. And you know what? It kind of works. Kind of does, kind of like it. As you can see right now, I have my Leupold Delta Point Pro on here. And the interesting thing is they give you 2 base plates that kind of function as 4. Basically, if whatever red dot you're deciding to go with, you take it, if that doesn't work, flip it over, then that one should work. And if that doesn't work, go to the next one, put that down. If that doesn't work, flip it over, go to the next one. So that's, in essence, them taking their more, I guess, duty-oriented or like standard 22 and then making it fancy and making it a competition gun. Honestly, feels more just like a tactical 22 to me. Either one I think works, but that's essentially what you got here.
Before you finish watching this video, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Exothermic Technologies, the maker of the Pulse Fire flamethrower. With the Pulse Fire, instead of relying on pressurized butane cans and have a constant open flame during use, the Pulse Fire uses their patent-pending electronic ignition, giving you a truly on-demand flame. Right now, you can get 20% off all accessories and gear if you purchase a flamethrower when you use the code ACC20. Thank you, Exothermic Technologies, for sponsoring today's video.
So the first thing I noticed about the TX22 Tactical, notice I keep saying 22 Tactical, it's 22 Competition. It's not even Competition, it's TX22 Competition. All of these names I have to remember with these guns drive me insane. Nonetheless, the TX22 Competition, the ergonomics on this gun are, I think, the standout. The moment I gripped this gun, it felt incredible, like just in hand. And you could tell that they actually put some thought into it. You can see the curvaceous back end right here with the little hip that kind of comes out here. And you got this little finger ledge here. Some people are gonna decry it and say, oh, I don't want it because my finger doesn't fit perfectly. Well, be normal and you won't have those problems. But it fits perfectly for me, and I have hobbit hands. So what does that say? But actually it doesn't, yeah, never mind. But the ergonomics on this gun feel fantastic. And then when I kind of come around here and I actually start to run the gun, it just really kind of just works. It works, it feels so smooth and soft, especially with this kind of granulated texturing that it has here. And then the gun in and of itself, especially when you have it set up the way I have it now with the Surefire suppressor, the Surefire light, and then my Leupold Delta Point Pro, the gun is extremely balanced. Which is weird to me because technically the gun should be a little front heavy with all this crap, but I'm assuming with the removal of 50% of the barrel, what you end up with is you have a balancing act that actually just works. Now they have this more trumped up version of the TX22. And so essentially what they've done is they kind of jazzed it. You know, they've given you the ability to put a suppressor on it. You have the rail, which is on the original one as well. But then you have the safety. You have these sights that honestly kind of leave much to be desired, but doesn't matter because you're going to be running a red dot on this thing. You kind of have to run the red dot because then the gun just looks kind of wonky without it. But once you put it on there, the gun visually does something that is just actually really soothing to look at in a weird way. But then you also have this like enlarged trigger guard, which especially considering how cold it is out here, even though I'm not wearing gloves, you could kind of run this while you're wearing gloves, even though I hate shooting with gloves on. Now, speaking of trigger guards, let's talk about this trigger. This trigger is fat. Look at it. It has a fatness to it. I know, it just looks like a big surfboard. As far as the way it actually functions is actually pretty doggone good. So the trigger is, how do I explain this? Let's do this again. So you have a take up on the trigger. It's ever so slightly spongy, but still very predictable. So you kind of get there's a little bit of resistance right here until you meet that wall right there. And then once you meet the wall, the gun actually breaks really clean. And then you get a reset, right there. That reset is really short. And then it breaks. Reset, and then it breaks. And then like you get this ever so slight, I wouldn't even call it spongy. It's kind of, you get this mild resistance that comes from the trigger. And then it breaks. This gun is fun to shoot with a suppressor. I'm sorry, it really is. And most 22s are that way. They're really enjoyable to shoot once you put the suppressor on it. Without the suppressor, the gun's fun. With the suppressor, the way it just runs, it just makes you all nice and giddy on the inside. That being said, the way the gun shoots, yes, it's kind of neither here nor there because it's a 22. If you can mess up the way a 22 shoots, you should just stop making guns. I'm just gonna be honest. However, some 22s shoot better than others. It's a very kind of particular science to try to figure out whether or not this 22 shoots better than this 22 than that. A lot of it comes down to, honestly, the weight distribution of the gun, the ergonomics of the gun, the trigger, and just overall how it handles recoil. This particular gun handles recoil like a freaking champ. I can run it. If I'm doing a mag dump, it just sits. If I'm shooting soft and slow, it just does what I need it to do. Like my red dot doesn't really move. And then even when you go out to distance, because of that balance, especially with that suppressor hanging out the front end, you can do stuff like that. You just get out there and just punch away at the target, and it just sits. And I can just follow it up without really making too many adjustments. Like, so, oh man, I love shooting 22s. So this gun doesn't fail or disappoint from not an ergonomic standpoint, but from a shooting standpoint. I can run it fast, I can run it slow, it just runs. That's, by and large, that's the Taurus TX22 tactic competition. I keep going back and forth just because once you start throwing suppressors on the gun and have a light and then have red dots, that's more tactical than competition to me. I don't know why they call it competition. I guess they just wanted to be different. But neither here nor there. I think from a competition standpoint, the gun, like I said, the gun can run. If you needed to run a competition style, there's nothing. I mean, I'm out 30 yards and I can just sit and run, do all day long because this gun shoots so flat. On top of that, also being a 22. But by and large, this is a gun, I think, for people who are looking for an entry-level gun from a 22 standpoint that's looking to possibly do some competition shooting and not feel like they kind of bought a gun that was subpar compared to other guns. I think this is an excellent option in that regard because it doesn't feel like an entry-level kind of 22 gun. Remember I said the ergonomics are great, the finish, the fit and feel, everything about it actually seems pretty high quality. If I was gonna point out anything that kind of seemed a little entry-level, I'd say the actual visual representation of the trigger just because it looks so fat and everything else on a gun seems a little bit more fit, if I shall say. But either way, there you have it. That's the Taurus TX22 Competition. These stupid names, the name's not stupid, they're just so long. I gotta remember the TX22 100,426 Competition Tactical Shield Arms Representative of the United States of America. But then you do that and you really don't care. The name, I'll deal with the name all day long. You can't beat that. Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot about empowerment in this country, except for when it comes to the Second Amendment. However, I can't think of anything more empowering than having the most effective tool to protect you and your family. So help me spread this message by liking and sharing this video with everyone you know. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment because the Second Amendment, when it said militia, it wasn't talking about the government. It was talking about you. Also, if you want to know where to find the I'm the Militia shirt and merchandise, click the I'm the Militia link in the description section of this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, make sure you hit that bell symbol.